This module talks about behavioral objectives. The reading talks about how to write a behavioral objective, something that we are going to need when we are completing our functional behavior assessment. Chapter 3, which is in your library course reserve, starts by giving a purpose and definition of an objective. Now, we need a behavioral objective so that the student or the learner knows what is expected of them. Further, we need a behavioral objective so that the teacher or the instructor knows the target behavior that we are focusing on, what kind of instruction or intervention setting she needs to have, and also what is an acceptable level for mastery. A good behavioral objective has three components. It is specific, it is observable, and it is measurable, just like a good behavioral definition. A behavioral objective should be very clear. It should also be very specific in what is expected of the learner or the student, so that there is no confusion or misunderstanding. Further, there are various domains under which behavioral objectives are written. For example, cognitive, communication, motor, social, self help, vocational, maladaptive, etc. The chapter starts from page 39. It gives a very thorough description of the components that go into writing a good behavioral objective. At the very beginning, it has to start by identifying who is the learner. We then talk about the target behavior, which, as we talked about, should be specific, it should be measurable, and it should be objective. Third, we talk about the condition of the intervention. And finally, the behavioral objective should have the criteria that we are using to identify the performance of the behavior, or the criteria that we are using to say that the skill has been mastered. As you read through the chapter, pages 46 and 47 give several examples and formats for how to write a behavioral objective. It also gives examples on how to write a behavioral objective when you are given a broad goal. Now, the difference between a goal and an objective comes out very clearly in these examples, so make sure you pay close attention to it. When you are thinking about goals, think about them as more of an overarching or a broad description of what it is that we are trying to achieve for a student. Whereas objectives are very specific, observable, and measurable outcomes for the students that develop or that come out of these goals.